We all know for a fact that having the best weapon in Warzone doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best gameplay. It's often attachments that actually make or break weapons in Warzone, and when Black Ops 6 integrates with Call of Duty Warzone on November 14th, that is also going to be the case. Now, I've already made a video highlighting which weapons I feel are going to be the best weapons going into Black Ops 6, and if you haven't seen that, please do go check it out. But there are a number of attachments in this game that are universally going to be phenomenal for Warzone for slightly different reasons. So if you actually want to be able to keep up with the meta on pretty much day one, this video is for you. I'm going to show you not only meta optics that are going to be hugely important on day one, but different attachments and how they're going to be very useful in Warzone and how you can unlock them. So if you find this helpful, please do drop a like, consider subscribing as well, we're on the road to 200k, and share it to a friend so all of you can be game day ready for Warzone's integration. Before I start, it's worth mentioning that the Black Ops 6 weapons will undoubtedly be the best weapons in the Warzone integration. Modern Warfare 3 guns and Modern Warfare 2 guns are just going to constantly get forced obsolescence, and these weapons are going to take center stage. With that in mind, here are some attachments that are going to be really key for you going in. The first one is the Willis 3X optic. This is a really nice clean 3x optic which is going to suit medium to long range assault rifles and LMGs well, and you can unlock this by getting the XM4 assault rifle to level 35. Moving on, we have the Dobiec MF Reflex. Now this is a close range optic that I actually think reduces visual recoil, which is why it's on this list. Generally speaking, you unlock this within any weapon's progression tree, and it normally tends to be around level 30 to 35 for most guns. I think this is the cleanest optic because it reduces visual recoil from what I've been able to see so far, and much like all of the optics I'm going to show you today, it also has customizable reticles. The next one is the Otero Thermal 2X, and you can unlock this by getting the GPR91 to level 15. This is a low magnification thermal sight that I think is going to be very useful, and I think a lot of people are going to use. We know for a fact that the smoke meta is probably going to stay going into this integration, and having something to counter that is going to be really key. Next, in a very different line to that, we have the Prismatech 4X. This is a more magnified version of the Willis 3X that I just showed you, and I actually think this is a really clean 4X that doesn't have any obvious visual recoil penalties. In fact, if anything, one of the things I'm really like seeing from a lot of the higher magnification optics in this version of Black Ops 6 is that it appears as though the higher magnification optics are actually accurately representing the recoil patterns that the gun is giving them, as opposed to manufacturing their own visual recoil and making the gun jump all over the place. Visually speaking though, there are a couple of weapons that seem to sit higher on the weapon rails, and for that reason they tend to reduce visual recoil. So I would highly recommend the Prismatech 4X as well, in a similar vein to the Willis 3X, and you can unlock this by getting the Goblin MK2 assault rifle to level 5, so a very easy one for you to have on day one. Next on the list is a long-range thermal optic for sniper rifles, and this is the Thermal 6X. Unfortunately, this one requires getting the SVD to level 40, but this is a really clean sight. Not only does it give you a thermal optic with good magnification, but it's actually really low profile as well. This optic doesn't take up a huge amount of your screen space for something that's giving you 6x magnification, and I actually think that's a really good asset to have. I have no doubt in my mind that a fast-firing thermal quick sight like this is going to be really big for snipers going forward, and potentially even DMRs as well. On a similar vein to this on the long-range optics, the Blandwell 7X is without a doubt the best sniper scope in the game. This is a clean 7X optic with fully customizable reticles. It just looks sharp, it looks punchy. There's no real visual sway or excess visual sway that's been added to this. It doesn't have variable magnification, which in my opinion adds far more visual sway and makes snipers far less accurate. And I just think this thing is the absolute go-to sniper rifle optic. And you can unlock this by getting the Goblin MK2 assault rifle to level 35. We're now moving into attachments, and the issue with attachments is that unlike the other Call of Duties over the last couple of years, you actually unlock these per weapon. So a certain barrel or suppressor could be level 5 on one gun and then level 40 on a different gun. So it's really important that you're selective with the weapons that you choose to level up. And if you're limited for time, I do have an entire video covering the weapons I feel are going to be meta on day one. Now, the first attachment that's going to catch your eye across all of the categories is the reinforced barrel. because this is a 20% increase on bullet velocity, and that's very handy for some medium to long range ARs and extremely handy for sniper rifles. And you can combine this with overpressured rounds, which also give you another 20% to maximize snipers' capability of getting max bullet velocity. So both reinforced barrels and overpressure rounds are really solid contributions in terms of sniper rifles, really solid contributions in terms of slower firing ARs that could be for medium to long range. The faster your bullet velocity, the faster the bullet hits the target, the faster the bullet hits the target, the better, more accurate tracking you're likely to get over range. So this is definitely something you want to keep in mind. Next on the list is a ported compensator, and the ported compensator again is available across pretty much every weapon and provides a minus 15% gun kick and also minus 15% vertical recoil. This means that you're going to see less visual kick when firing your gun full auto, which is obviously a huge asset to have going into something like Warzone for longer range weapons. In a very similar sense to what we've seen in the past with other compensators, this doesn't have a huge amount of drawbacks either. So the ported compensator should 100% be first on your list in terms of long-range fights. The precision foregrip is something you're going to see on pretty much every weapon, and this gives you a reduced gun kick and also minus 24% horizontal recoil. So for long-range assault rifles, horizontal recoil is pretty much the only thing you can't compensate for, so having less horizontal recoil is really key. I think this is going to be a staple of long-range weapons, and I think most guns, especially medium to long-range weapons for ARs, are going to utilize the precision foregrip. The assault grip, which is a rear grip for your gun, is actually also going to be pretty key, especially in the SMG department, but more so potentially at the close to medium range AR department. And the reason for this is that the assault grip offers anywhere from around a minus 39 sprint to fire speed, which is pretty insane. We're talking about a very rapid increase in ADS, which means you're more accurate faster, you're firing faster. It just looks like the best rear grip imaginable, and I don't think there's anything else in the category that really comes close to it. The target laser is something that's available across pretty much every weapon as well, and this offers a 100% reduction in ADS idle sway delay, and that means that the actual time it takes for your weapon to start swaying in ADS idle is greatly reduced by almost double. This is a really key attachment not only for sniper rifles, but also I feel for potentially more long-range weapons. We don't know what ADS idle sway is going to look like in Warzone yet, but if it looks as rough as I think some of it has been in the past, then we're not in for a particularly good time. The balanced stock as well is another attachment that's on my radar, because the balanced stock gives you a 9% increase in movement speed, 14% increase in crouch movement speed, and 8% increase in aim walking speed. And this is a universally quite good attachment, not only for SMGs because it doesn't come with a huge amount of downsides, but also for something like more medium range and more mobile assault rifles. This is a pretty much decent stock across the board that has very few penalties and basically just gives you an overall bump in movement speed, and I don't think that's something anybody can really complain about. And naturally the last attachment, which arguably isn't the best in the world, is still recoil springs. This is a minus 5% recoil reduction, a minus 5% horizontal recoil reduction, and a minus 5% vertical recoil reduction, and just universally makes a more accurate weapon more accurate. That is the worst sentence I think I've ever put together as a content creator, and quite frankly, I don't care at this point. You know the gist. This is an attachment that's supposed to make an accurate gun shoot like it's supposed to be the best gun, and you kind of want it for pretty much any weapon. Overarchingly, these are all of the attachments that I've had my eye on. I think the biggest issue you're going to see with Black Ops 6 weapons going into the Warzone integration is that they have very fixed feelings in terms of how these guns operate, and changing the attachments doesn't really change a huge amount of the base philosophy of how that gun works. So what I mean by that, universally, is just that even if a gun looks like it has the potential to be a long-range damageable weapon, the reality is that it doesn't really fulfill that category most of the time. You can put as many recoil attachments on a very jumpy weapon, and you'll probably still have a fairly jumpy weapon. And I think that's going to be the case for Black Ops 6 universally, and I think it's something you should all keep your eye on. So I would generally practice with the weapons that I have provided in my previous videos, but universally, there are some really solid optics that I feel are going to be meta optics across the board that everybody should have their eye on. I hope you guys found this video really useful. If you did, drop a like, drop a subscribe. We're on the road to 200k. And a big shout out and thank you to all of my channel members. Channel members support the page directly by becoming members, and you can become one by hitting the join button below. They get all of this information before anybody else in our exclusive Discord, and if you want to help my testing, it's the best way to go about it. You can join by clicking the join button below at any given time on the channel. As always folks, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.